Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa. First, concerns about the transparency of Gabon's weekend presidential vote are raised by the main opposition candidate and EU observers. Leadership hopeful Jean Ping says he's sure he's beaten leader Ali Bongo. Also, France 24 gains rare access to a retaken militia camp in the Congolese jungle, known as Camp Garlic. It had been a stronghold for ADF militia, who've long terrorized local communities. And a hunt with a sting in the tail. We head to southern Tunisia, where young people help their communities by spending their summers hunting scorpions. Well, first, a day before official results from Gabon's presidential election are due in, and the main challenger to leader Ali Bongo is already sure of his win. Jean Ping has called on Bongo, whose family has run the country for 5 decades, to step down, and has claimed that the tally may be tampered with. EU observers have also expressed concerns about the vote's transparency. Our correspondent sent us this report.
In less than 24 hours, the opposition candidate Jean Ping held 2 press conferences. He said he'd won and called on his rival, the incumbent Ali Bongo, to step down.
I call on Mr. Ali Bongo in a democratic spirit to accept the results, to accept the will of the sovereign people and to organise the handover of power.
But the ruling party says that Ali Bongo has won another 7-year mandate. His spokesman says Jean Ping is a sore loser.
He'd said publicly that if Ali Bongo won, he would not accept the result. He fears this announcement because Ali Bongo has been chosen by the people. So he's trying to undermine the system, but it will not work.
With both camps claiming victory, tensions are high and the capital was less lively this Monday. Many closed their shops. Some people have stocked up on food, fearing post-electoral violence.
Normally, people buy 5 or 10 loaves. Now they're buying 100. I never seen that. We're also scared. I bought more food, pasta, to stock up. We don't know what will happen after the announcement.
Security forces are deployed in the capital, Libreville. The results are expected on Tuesday afternoon.
Well, Tunisia's new unity government took office on Monday. Prime Minister Youssef Chahed is the 7th premier Tunisia's had in less than 6 years. As the handover happened in Carthage, Chahed's predecessor, Habib Essid, expressed his hopes that the new government would last. It's got its work cut out for it. The fallout from the 2011 revolution caused political turbulence, has left the economy in a dire state, and seen a rise in extremist attacks. On Monday, 3 soldiers were killed in a blast near jihadist hideout near the Algerian border. Chahed vowed to unite the country and make security a priority.
Democracy is about supporting institutions, and it is not associated with particular people. I assure you of the continuation of the democratic revolution in Tunisia. But the revolution is threatened if we do not succeed in achieving the economic and social goals which the people have been awaiting for 6 years.
In Libya, pro-government forces on Monday said that they'd cornered the last of the Islamic State fighters in their former stronghold of Sirte. They're calling the assault on the final 2 districts that had been held by the jihadists the final battle. Loyalist fighters claim to have lost at least 38 of their number since Sunday. They faced a dozen suicide bomb attacks, but after overnight clashes, the week began with relative calm on the front. IS fighters seized the city last June. Libyan fighters have been trying to gain it back since May. 2 senior Kenyan Olympic Committee officials facing criminal charges were granted bail on Monday. Vice Chairman Pius Ochieng and Secretary General Francis Paul were arrested last week after returning from Brazil. Team leader Stephen Arap Soy was also held and granted bail, but didn't appear in court Monday as his lawyer claims that he's fallen ill and been admitted to hospital. Now, the trio's accused of involvement in the alleged theft of team equipment and wrongful distribution of accreditation for the Games. Well, on Monday, the Kenyan press flagged up the deepening rivalry between Beijing and Japan in trying to boost their influence in Africa. It follows the Tokyo International Conference on African Development, which was held in Africa for the first time over the weekend. Dozens of deals were signed, and Tokyo had pledged to invest $30 billion in the continent by the time the event wrapped up in Nairobi on Sunday. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta have also agreed on the need to increase the number of members of the UN Security Council, which Japan is hoping to become a permanent member of. Kenya will be getting around $10 million of Japanese aid for agricultural and healthcare projects. Well, for more on the race between China and Japan across Africa, we've got Julia Steers. She's in Nairobi. Julia, so Beijing's total trade with the continent was $179 billion last year. Tokyo's was a comparatively paltry $24 billion. It looks like an uneven competition. Can Tokyo play catch up at this stage?
Well, right. If we're talking strictly in dollar amounts, it will obviously be difficult for Tokyo to catch up with China's presence and level of investment across the continent. But in terms of currying favor with African heads of state for political purposes and investing in a continent in the continent in a way that actually develops African economies, Japan has a real opportunity to make inroads on those fronts. Many economic analysts here say that China's investment has not gone far enough in developing economies here, and that in fact by handing money directly to African governments, they've helped encourage corruption. So Japanese officials have said that they'll really stress investment in the private sector, and they've set aside a certain amount of this most recent commitment of funds that will be funneled directly through international NGOs and aid organizations. Now, of course, as you mentioned, Japan is also lobbying for a permanent seat on the UN Security Council, and they may hope that deepening trade ties with African countries can help them to that end. So there's definitely more at stake here between Japan and China than just a numbers game.
So between Tokyo and Beijing, this rivalry is continuing. Can this actually work in Africa's favor?
Definitely, and we already see that happening. Just last week, Kenya's foreign minister said that the increased visibility from all of the Chinese investment has sparked interest in investors from the U.S., from India, and obviously from Japan. This is the first time in the conference's 6-year history that it's actually been held on the continent, and the Japanese prime minister turned up with about 75 private sector executives. They say they're really trying to send the message that they believe there are real growth opportunities here. And there are 54 African countries represented. Obviously, those leaders hope that the competition between Japan and China and the increased interest will prompt other countries outside of Asia to invest in Africa as well.
Well, thanks very much. Julia Steers there for us in Nairobi. Well, the Congolese government under pressure to deliver results in the fight back against the Ugandan rebel group that's been terrorizing communities in eastern DRC for decades. Earlier this month, the army scored a big victory in taking out one of the militia's main camps. France 24's Thomas Nicolon was given rare access to what was known as Camp Garlic.
The dense cover of the Congolese jungle offers a perfect hideout for the ADF. There, they are hard to track down. Nevertheless, they have been, and have lost one of their strongholds to the Congolese army, backed by the UN.
The logistic support, the fire support, and the ground combat support all were provided jointly. But FARDC has the maximum credit to take this camp. They have taken it over.
This is a tough environment, but the ADF put in place a military structure.
This is where they would make the homemade bombs.
The rebels were armed, but they also had special strategies to survive the bombings targeting the site.
This is the hole where they would hide. There's enough room for 10 or 15 people.
Several underground shelters, almost undetectable. This shows expertise that nobody had expected from them.
You can see the amount of artwork that has been done to make it safe from artillery bombardment and also from air attack. We had information that they are very well dug in. But until and unless we captured Garlic, we did not know that the amount of artwork is up to that much. It's like a complete professional military work.
The army knew about this base for months, but until now had never found it. An important battle has been won. The rebels could now be seriously weakened.
They are on the run because they have lost one of their strongholds. They are on the run and they are vulnerable now because they don't have the protection they were having from the bunkers.
2 Congolese battalions are now stationed here in order to hold the territory. It is still a long way to peace in eastern Congo, but the Kamgalik victory offers hope of a better tomorrow for the people of North Kivu.
Well, finally, it's a dangerous game if ever there was one. Kids in some parts of southern Tunisia can spend their summers hunting scorpions to sell. Sandra Lucians tells us more.
The night is darkest, they come out for some fresh air. It's the perfect time for the scorpion hunt, with the infrared light in one hand and a pair of pliers in the other. In the rock desert of Benirtesh, the village children spend their entire summer hunting the scorpion night and day. A hunt more difficult in daytime, when they dig them out of their holes using ordinary spoons.
We hunt the scorpions and then we sell them so we can buy school supplies and help our parents.
What seems like a fun game to the children is also a lucrative activity for the villagers. Every weekend the kids gather to sell their collection of live scorpions for 8 cents apiece to Najib Ayeb's family, who've been serving as intermediaries for 40 years.
We do it for the children, for the people, to support their schooling. They help the parents and the family budget. You made 140 dinars. Well done.
Nearly 80,000 scorpions in one summer, and Najib Ayeb is off to resell them far up north at the Pasteur Institute of Tunis. Scorpions sting up to 45,000 Tunisians every year, but in these sanitized corridors, their venom is extracted and used to produce an antidote against scorpion sting.
Here we produce an anti-scorpionic serum called Gamascorp. This product contains active immunoglobulins against scorpion venom, focusing on the 2 most deadly types in Tunisia.
8,000 to 12,000 doses will be distributed for free across the country. But the researchers at the Pasteur Institute are attempting to go further. They want to use venom toxins to create medication against cancer and immune diseases.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks for joining us. Please do so again if you can. Take care.